Do you think it's conceivable that someday you can ever get 6 of the Arab intelligence leaders to sit for interviews like that?
Oh, he wants to do the Arab version.
Look, I can tell you that a lot of I've experienced, which was amazing for me, in a lot of the screenings that I had in here and also in Europe, a lot of Arabs came to me after the screening and told me, also yesterday, Palestinian, and told me, you know, one thing, this is just to show how great the democracy in Israel is and how sorry we are that we cannot have the same thing in our countries. But look, I mean, I feel the Arab world is changing. What happens now in the Middle East is tectonic changes. We don't know how it will settle, how the dust will settle down at the end. Maybe it will be. Don't forget that there are totalitarian regimes up until now. So,
I'm curious if this has been out for a month there. Have they been talking about it on TV?
A lot. In Israel, yes. In Israel, it created a huge storm. A huge storm. By the way, when they asked one of the chief interpreter of politics in Israel in the interview in the radio, what was the cause for Netanyahu's falling down from 45 members of Knesset to 31, he said first the gatekeepers, second the interview that you did with Yuval Diskin. I did an interview, a long interview with Yuval Diskin, who was the head of Shin Bet with Netanyahu. He kind of gave first-hand account of how he perceived Netanyahu and how he felt about him and what he sees in him, basically the lack of leadership. So this was the main 2 reasons, and the third one was the shift of Netanyahu towards the extreme right.
So you had a hand in that?
Well, it's one step in a long voyage.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Just based on what you just said about Obama, and I don't know enough about everything that is going on or what happened. What is your opinion on what Bill Clinton did by bringing those 2 together?
Question about what do I think about what Bill Clinton did?
Well, no, how you feel about it?
How do I feel about it? I can tell you what do I know about it, and not what do I feel, because in the chapter that is called here in the movie, Victory is to See You Suffer, the end of that is the collapse of the peace process in October 2000, which basically was the Camp David, Clinton, Arafat, and Barak. And it is here 3.5 minutes or 4 minutes in the movie. In the series that I'm doing, it's going to be 1 hour, and it basically shows how the peace after the assassination of Rabin, basically mainly because of Netanyahu in the beginning and then Barak after him, and also Arafat contributed his share to that. Basically, there was no chance to reach peace. And I think that the biggest mistake of Clinton was that he kind of yielded to Barak's desire to save his government and to go to this Camp David Accord, which they didn't really prepare well. And the consequences of that failure is around 3,000 people dead, 1,000 Israelis, 2,000 Palestinians, 1,000 and 1,000 are dead, and basically the destruction of the left in Israel. By the fact that President Clinton said, kind of accepted Barak's theory that there is no partner for peace. Basically after that, Barak said there is no partner for peace. He was lying, and it crushed the left in Israel completely.
Yes. Given the political changes, have you had any discussions about what the feelings of Yair Lapid are, or some of the newer politicians that are coming out, or just like to see what?
Look, I think I know Yair Lapid. She asked about the result of the last election and about the kind of theory, what the policy of Yair Lapid, the new, there is a future. I know Yair Lapid personally. I wouldn't vote for him if I was a person, but because his resume is just being a nice faces on television. He has good people with him, but I think that the major message that came from the last election in Israel is saying to Netanyahu, you will not go to the far right, we want you to move center. That basically there is no one in front of you, no one that is really a candidate against you in those forms of other parties. So we know that you will be the prime minister, but we want you to go center.
All right, we have time for one more question. So, yes, please.
Okay, look, this is a very easy question to answer.
What's the question?
The question was, is there any people to work with the Palestinian side, in the Palestinian side? With Gaza now, there is no way to work. No, it wasn't a trial. It was, believe me, I researched that very, very thoroughly. Gaza now. Are you asking a question, or if you want to lecture, I can bring you
4 months ago, was there?
And you can speak, and I will go. But if you ask a question, please let me answer.
4 months ago, was there?
So with Gaza, now there is a problem because the Hamas is ruling Gaza. But let's go to the Palestinian Authority. The two prominent persons in the Palestinian Authority, Abu Mazen and Salem Fayyad, have said constantly, all the time, that they are against terror. In the last 4 years, by the way, 2 days ago, it was released that in the last year, no Israeli died from terror attacks in the West Bank. The security forces in the last 4 years, on both sides, the Palestinian and the Israelis, have worked so hard to get all those radicals inside. Abu Mazen is saying all the time, I am for peace. I'm willing to go to the 67 line. I'm willing to give in a way the right of return. He's not an easy client. But what do we do, the Israelis, in front of that? Instead of encouraging him to continue, Netanyahu, the bigger hero, is negotiated with Hamas, who released the 1,000 prisoners in order to release Gilad Shalit. It was Prime Minister Netanyahu. 1,000 Hamas prisoners came back to Gaza. Who negotiated with Hamas 2 months ago the ceasefire in Gaza? With Hamas, negotiated. Prime Minister Netanyahu, the big hero. Who brought back into Gaza the leader of Hamas who was not allowed to go back, Khaled? Netanyahu. What does Netanyahu do with the Palestinian Authority? Humiliates them, say that they are not partner for peace. He doesn't want to negotiate with him. Continues to build settlement in the West Bank, which leads more and more Palestinians to go towards Hamas. Why? Because the equation is really simple. When you hit, when you are against, you win. When you do not do that, you are treated as and this is not coming from me, it comes from the head of the Shin Bet, who says exactly those words that I said to you. So this is why I say it's very easy to put the blame. We always put the blame on the other side. They don't want. First of all, I think first and foremost, are we really, the Israelis, a really easy client for peace? Is it really easy to create those conditions to peace? The West Bank is divided completely now by settlements. There are settlements like mushroom under the rain, after the rain. Every Palestinian that walks and sees his homeland, which basically has to be his homeland, is completely divided. So what do we want? And if we want to create peace, this is why I meant in the beginning, you really need to mean that, to say what you mean and to mean what you say. Netanyahu said 4 years ago that he's for a two-state solution. He did completely the opposite thing. Every leader in the Western world do not believe him. You just have to see what all the prime minister, president, whatever, in every Western world think about him. I don't think that you will be very, very happy.
Well, thank you so much for coming and thank you for speaking with us. And please tell your friends to come see the room is playing now and spread the word. Thank you.